All right, everyone, this is Miss Meyer back again with Enlightenment Literature today. So we talked about medieval literature. We kind of went over Renaissance literature, but not so much in detail because in English 1 and English 2, I know you guys talk about the Renaissance period a lot because remember, that's when William Shakespeare was born and wrote all of his different plays and poems and stories and things like that. So I think you guys are pretty well aware of what's going on during the Renaissance period. So now we are going to talk about Enlightenment literature, or the Enlightenment era. So this appeared around the year 1700 with the restoration or the crowning of the exiled Charles II, and it lasted until about 1800. So remember, we don't have specific start and stop times with this, right? It's not like someone sat down and said, I'm going to start Enlightenment literature today. So we estimate, because of the time period, what's going on around the world, what's going on with these people, we estimate that it started around 1700 and lasted till around 1800. With Enlightenment literature, there are a lot of themes, a lot of big concepts or ideas. Some of them are like social upheaval, reversals of personal status, political satire, geographical exploration, and the comparison between the supposed natural state of man and the supposed civilized state of man. So that sounds like a lot, and it is. But I think a key takeaway to remember from this period is that people were trying to figure out the why behind everything. So they really were questioning, why do I have to act this way in public versus this way at home? Why can I not just be one person? Or why are there certain societal expectations for me, when I'm out in society, when I'm at a dinner, when I'm going to a person's house or going to a business party or going to work, versus how I can act at home. So they were trying to figure out like these big differences and I would say similarities as well between how one person is outside of the house versus how they are inside of the house. That was kind of a big question and a big concept that they would focus on. And then the other thing is learning the why behind kind of life in general. I know that sounds like a big idea, but they really were interested in learning just more about everything, more about the world around them. That's why they were doing, you guys can see on this slide, the geographical exploration. They were learning about, different parts of the world, where people come from. They were learning about different cultures, and they were trying to understand all of those differences and then similarities between where these people are at right now and how they're living, their customs, their religious beliefs, things like that, compared to how people in both America and England were also exploring religion, cultural aspects, and things like that. So because of that, a lot of scholars will argue that the Enlightenment period was the beginning of modern society because they're asking those big questions like, why this, why that, right? And they're learning to be more, I would say, civilized because they're questioning things like, okay, well, when I'm at work, I have to be super professional, but when I'm at home, it's okay if I put on my PJs and, hang out for the night, right? But they're asking those big questions and they're learning how to be, I would say, civilized in like the work area, outside of the home, in business, politics, religion, things like that. So that's why a lot of scholars think that it was the beginning of modern society. Another important thing to note is that the French Revolution and the American Revolution happened during this time frame. So when we talk about medieval literature and Renaissance literature, or those two different time periods, we're talking really about England, right? Like that's like the specter of where we're talking about. The Enlightenment period is the first literary period that we're discussing in this class that focuses on America, okay? So that's something that I need you to remember. It's something that you should remember because that's a big concept for our history here in America. So we have a lot of prominent authors. William Congreve, he wrote The Way of the World. Hopefully you guys have heard of the Declaration of Independence, I would hope. We know Benjamin Franklin was a key component of that. John Locke wrote an essay concerning human understanding. We have A Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant. Sir Isaac Newton wrote Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. So, it's kind of sounds like a really fun and exciting story to read. Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote Emile or On Education. Voltaire wrote Zadig, and then Mary Wollstonecraft, she's going to be the one that I want you guys to remember. She wrote A Vindication on the Rights of Woman. She is Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. She is Mary Shelley's mother. So she was a huge feminist. She had all of these different beliefs about how females should be acting in society and how females should be treated out in society and also at home. So she's a key component for our history as females, but she's also a big component for men helping women out. So she's not like anti-men or anything like that, especially when we're talking about being a feminist, because I think that's a big misconception nowadays. People think that the word feminist means you don't like men or you're against men. And it doesn't. Feminism and, being a feminist is just having a belief that females should be treated equally, right, as males. Or with males. So that she kind of really started she's kind of like a backbone for that movement, Mary Wollstonecraft. So keep in mind all of these key players, these big stories. We will be reading a little excerpt by Mary Wollstonecraft from A Vindication on the Rights of Woman. It's an entire book, and we're just reading part of a chapter of the book. So it's really interesting. You can kind of see how she was thinking and how that led to Mary Shelley believing what she did when she wrote Frankenstein, and just kind of this big snowball effect. So if you have any questions, as always, let me know, but that is what I have for you on Enlightenment Literature.